Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to the... On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we review Transformers vs. the Terminator Issue 2. We talk about IDW's second quarter financial results, and Transformers War for Cybertron gets delayed. Today is Friday, June 26th, 2020, and this is episode 187 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that knows whenever Transformers is trending on Twitter, it's because Michael Bay did something shitty. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, what's up?
The amazing and awesome producer and editor Mike.
Both amazing and awesome.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian beast.
Hello. Let's talk Transformers.
All right, as always, we start off the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who give us money on Patreon and PayPal. We really appreciate your support, and thank you for continuing to help keep the show going. If you are not already a Donatreon and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support, and there you'll find links to sign up either on Patreon or PayPal. We're adding a new bit of exclusive content for our Donatreons this week. This is a track all about Yoshi doing an MST3K riff on last week's Transmissions episodes. So we thought since he was not able to be with us in person, this would be a fun way to have Yoshi come back on the show. And we hope all our Donatrons really enjoy it. And if you would like to listen, all you got to do is sign up for either our Patreon or PayPal. You can get access. And you help support the show. Another way to support the show would be with merchandise from our TeePublic store, and that is at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. You can also check out our artist friend K-Girl and her TeePublic store, which is at teepublic.com/user/superstark. She's got some cool designs as well. You can pick up some Transmissions designs. You can pick up some of our designs made into masks, because masks are very important. You should still be wearing masks everywhere you go out in public. Please keep wearing the masks. And get some merchandise from our TeePublic store. Help us out. Also, before we get into the rest of the show, we've got the uncut version of Empire of Rust episode 26. That is also an exclusive for Donatrons. That is coming up next Monday, June 29th. This Monday, we already had episode 26 drop in the regular Empire of Rust feed, so you can already listen to that episode. If it's not already in your feed, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/rust. And now the uncut version is available for Donatron. So you can listen to that in the off week while you're waiting eagerly for the next episode, which will be in another week. So enjoy. Mike, anything you can remember that was particularly spicy in this uncut version of episode 26? I know you probably recorded it a long time ago, but I'm putting you on the spot.
Where do I begin? No, the uncut episodes are always good fun to listen to, because it's not as edited and not as kind of like trimmed down as the main release episodes. So if you are a fan of kind of hearing just a bunch of people at the table kind of goofing off and just kind of playing this game, then this is certainly for you. They are definitely longer than the edited versions, because everything is left in. A lot of like the kind of raunchier stuff is left in, and sometimes, if it's just like, hey, we need to pause for like a minute while we look up a rule, that's left in too. So
nice.
That doesn't make good radio, so you won't hear that in the trimmed version. But no, it's a much more real, much more kind of down to earth kind of recording. So if you are into that, then yeah, give that a listen, and it's certainly a good time.
Nice. All right, so now let's move on with the rest of the show, and we will start off with comics news. Okay, so IDW has released their second quarter fiscal results for 2020. It's not great. I mean, their revenue. So they had in their first quarter, their revenue was $6.3 million. And second quarter, which ended April 30th, it went down to $4.7 million. Of course, we did have the whole pandemic, but they already were not doing great and are still not profitable. They had a net loss per share of 4 cents for all their shares. So I mean, this also was, this number probably would have been a lot worse. Well, actually, this is just revenue, so maybe it doesn't. But, in terms of getting towards profitability, they also had a significant workforce reduction. They furloughed 20% of their employees during the pandemic. They brought a bunch back, but they also permanently let go of a subset of those workers. So, yeah, we talked about that in previous weeks. It's IDW as a business is I think it's fair to say that they've been struggling a little bit, in particular, with the media holdings and having to have, their TV production is a kind of a big expense for them and maybe not really getting the revenue they're expecting. And the publishing side is also a little bit down. So we're pulling for you guys, but
You think they can make it out?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know. It's also, I mean, the other problem is Diamond and their distribution, since they're, not a top tier publisher. They kind of get screwed.
They're one step up than they were.
Yeah, that's true. I guess DC creates a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we've seen it on as we've been covering the Transformers releases year after year. A lot of releases, we know the art and the books have been finished on the production side, but they don't get distributed in a timely manner because Diamond prioritizes other publishers ahead of IDW.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem for them for trying to get their books in the hands of the customers. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for IDW.
Yeah, I know. Like we always mention this. Their TV production is the majority of what's dragging them down in terms of spending money and not getting as much back. They do have a hit with Lock and Key on Netflix, but that's been the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
On the comic side, I really wish they would do something that like the entire industry needs to do, but they need to think non-traditional in terms of advertising, because as of right now, you're seeing advertising in their books for their other books, and you're not growing the audience at all. It was probably a great thing in the Dark Cybertron era where the toys were packed in with comics. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's possible right now with Earthrise and stuff, but you have a series that is using the toys as models. You would think that they could work with Hasbro and maybe include a digital code with the toys or something.
Yeah.
Do any kind of advertising outside of your own audience base and just kind of try to grow the number of people that are buying your product.
Yep. Those are all good points. All right. Continuing on with comics news, we've got a retailer incentive cover for Transformers 84 #1. This is art by Nick Roche. This is the retailer incentive cover. And we do have word now that issue 1 will be out July 15th. So, like everything else, it's a couple months delayed. It was originally supposed to be out in April. But yeah, this is one we're really looking forward to. And this brings back Simon Furman, Guido Guidi, and John Paul Bove for the art and writing in this issue. But yeah, I like this cover. Nick Roche, it's his take on the traditional G1 versions of Prime and Megatron. It's a really cool image. And I guess that silhouette is Punch in the foreground there. Next up, we've got stuff coming out that's now solicited for September. So the first thing is Transformers Galaxies issue 11, and this is going to have covers by Andrew Griffith, Alex Milne, and Brendan Cahill. So 3 powerhouse Transformers artists, all contributing covers for this issue of Transformers Galaxies. And this is part 2 of the Ultra Magnus story that is being written by Brandon Easton. So I'm looking forward to this.
And Andrew Griffith's on interiors.
Oh, is he? Cool. Yeah. Nice. That's definitely a bonus. So that's still a ways away, though. I mean, that's solicited for September. We've still got a 3-part series of Transformers Galaxies starring RC and Greenlight and their Ward Gage. I believe that would be issues 7, 8, and 9. And so we've got those 3 issues, plus then issue 10 would be the first part of the Ultra Magnus story. So I'm a little bit skeptical that we're going to have 11 coming out in September. I think that there doesn't seem to be enough months to get those issues out. We've got to get 4 more issues out in 2 months, but we'll see. For the rest of the solicitations for September, we've also got the Transformers versus the Terminator trade paperback. So this is collecting the entire crossover, where we're actually reviewing the second issue of the crossover this week. But this is it's a 4-issue crossover. So by September, they should be able to collect the complete set in a trade paperback. And then also the mainline series Transformers Volume 3 All Fall Down. And this is a 12-issue trade paperback that contains 19 to 24 of the regular Transformers series, and then 7 to 12 of Transformers Galaxies. So that would include that the Galaxies would be the entire the RC Greenlight story plus the Ultra Magnus story, and then the 19 to 24, I believe that's the Rise of the Decepticons story arc for the main Transformers series. So yeah, I like collecting the volumes into larger trades. So hopefully that encourages people to take a second look at the trades if they're not collecting the single issues. All right, that's all the comics news. So let's move on to our comic review. All right, we have 3 covers this week. Cover A is art by Gavin Fullerton, and you see the Terminator coming through the time portal with Optimus Prime's profile in the background. Cover B is art by Casey Collar, colors by David Garcia Cruz, and it's the Terminator standing on a mound of Transformer bodies right outside the Ark. And the retail incentive cover art is by Freddie E. Williams II, with colors by Jeremy Cowell. And you see Optimus Prime in the background as tons and tons of Terminators are going forward to fight. So, Mike, which cover is your bee's knees?
I think I'm going to go with the RI cover. Yeah, I'm going to go with the RI. I just, I like the kind of quality of the kind of like painterly feel to Prime on that one. I've never really been the biggest fan of the designs of the T1000 or the T100, whichever number it is, Terminator. It's just like, it's okay. It's a metal skeleton. Cool, whatever. But I really do love the kind of painterly feel to that. It reminds me a little bit of like an Alex Ross painting, which is always nice to see. So, yeah, all right for me.
Cool. They are the T800, just for future reference.
Learn something new every day.
Daryl, which cover would you pick here?
I like the Casey Collar cover with the T800 with his half his body ripped to shreds, showing off his metal skeleton. What did he call it? His metal endoskeleton wrapped in polyalloy. Yeah, I just think this is really awesome. It looks great. Standing on the on all the heads of all the characters is just fantastic. It's very detailed, which is just great. So yeah, Casey's for me.
Jeremy, which one?
I have to agree. Casey's cover is just great. It is always a winner with Casey, and I don't know. I just love it. The other two are good. There's really only a choice when like it's Casey versus like Alex, and then you have to. Both of them are top tier.
All right. And for me, I think I am going to split the decision and go with Mike on the Retailer Incentive by Freddie E. Williams II.
Yes!
I do like the painterly look there and that Optimus Prime. I like the facial expression of Optimus Prime there. It actually conveys a little bit of like worry or sadness. And that's difficult to pull off when you've just got the eyes for Optimus Prime. So I appreciate that the care that went into that expression, and then the T-800s look good. It's a nice composition.
As we're all discovering now that we have to wear masks, it's hard to convey emotion.
Yeah, Prime did it before it was cool. All right, so let's get into the story. Picking up from the end of issue 1, Megatron and the Decepticons have just been reawakened by Teletran 1 in the Ark, triggered by the eruption of Mount St. Hilary. Since the Autobots are still in stasis lock, Megatron is poised to finally claim victory and permanently dispose of his longtime enemy, Optimus Prime. But before he can fire his fusion cannon, he is interrupted by a tiny biomechanical cyborg from the future out for revenge. The Terminator fires his human-made shotgun at Megatron's arm. Unsurprisingly, the blast has no effect. Megatron laughs at the insect who dares to challenge him with a useless primitive weapon. But the Terminator uses the distraction to access its database and identify each Decepticon, targeting their weak points. The Terminator takes a second shot and fires his shotgun and handgun directly at Megatron's left eye, shattering it. Megatron roars in anger and pain and orders Starscream and Soundwave to destroy the bug. Starscream and Soundwave give chase, but the Terminator is small and quick and manages to avoid their blasts. Meanwhile, Sarah Connor tries to escape on her own since the Terminator abandoned her. But the battle comes right to her, and Soundwave identifies the human as another potential pest to be eliminated. Soundwave ejects Ravage to exterminate the human while Starscream and Soundwave focus on the Terminator. Sarah flees in terror with Ravage close behind. Megatron gets increasingly annoyed that Starscream and Soundwave can't squash a single pest, and he orders his other Decepticons to continue reviving the rest of his troops while they also dispose of the still deactivated Autobots. Despite being outsized, outmatched, and outgunned, the Terminator persists in its mission. It finds an Autobot-sized blaster among the bodies and turns it on the Decepticons, giving them further trouble. Sarah Connor has managed to evade Ravage by climbing a loose wire and has gotten up onto a computer console. But Ravage is very agile and climbs up in pursuit, determined to hunt her down. She scrambles past the scanning instrument emitting a blue light, and Ravage knocks the device aside to get to her. Ravage doesn't notice that the scanner's blue light is now focused on the inert body of Optimus Prime. The Ark's machines get to work repairing and reconfiguring. Soundwave and Starscream are getting increasingly frustrated by the resilience of the tiny cyborg. Most of its synthetic flesh has been burned off by their firepower, but it continues to fight back. They are so focused on their prey that they don't notice Optimus Prime until he sucker punches Starscream in the face. With Prime reactivated, he becomes their main target. The Decepticons still have the advantage, though. Prime is just one Autobot against a ship full of Decepticons. He holds his own, but he'll soon be overwhelmed. In the confusion, everyone has forgotten about Sarah Connor. She's caught on that maybe she needs more of these Autobots to even the odds against the Decepticons that were trying to kill her. So she moves the scanner to aim its light on another yellow robot with the same red symbol. Bumblebee is quickly reactivated and joins the fight. Now there are 2 Autobots to deal with, and could be more on the way. Starscream doesn't want to wait to find out and is ready to call a retreat. Megatron curses his cowardice, but also sees discretion as the better part of valor. He orders the Decepticons to leave Prime and Bumblebee to their broken ship and stasis-locked friends. With the Decepticons gone, Optimus Prime and Bumblebee take stock of their situation. It's not good. The Ark is in shambles and all their comrades are offline. But they do have 2 new friends in the diminutive creatures who reactivated them. Prime offers his thanks to the creatures, but the Terminator, now completely shed of its synthetic flesh, has only one thought: complete the mission by terminating all Cybertronians. He fires his blaster at Prime, knocking him off his feet. Bumblebee grabs the little bot, ready to retaliate and stop it from hurting his friend. Another battle was about to kick off, but Sarah Connor has had enough. She yells for everyone to stop and calm down for a minute. From her point of view, the Terminator is the only killer robot that's been causing problems today, starting with kidnapping her. So she demands the Terminator explain what its mission is and why it's so hell-bent on destroying the Cybertronians. The Terminator relents and finally decides to tell the whole story. In the year 1984, the Cybertronians attacked and declared themselves the new rulers of the Earth. The humans mobilized a military defense called Skywatch, but it was no match for the Cybertronians. But Skywatch had one secret project that succeeded: Skynet, a supercomputer that gained sentience. The humans and Skynet worked together to create cybernetic warriors to fight the Cybertronians. Unfortunately, this was not enough. Humanity was driven to extinction, but its creation, Skynet, and its army of cyborgs survived. In a tactical move, Skynet surrendered to the Cybertronians and agreed to serve them. But in secret, Skynet built a time machine, created synthetic flesh to cover over a Terminator shell, and sent one back in time to eliminate the Cybertronian threat before it began. Optimus Prime sympathizes with the Terminator's plight, but he tries to explain that the threat he wants to eliminate only comes from Megatron and the Decepticons, not the Autobots. Prime reasons that he may have already changed the future by saving him and Bumblebee, and they stand ready to work together to ensure Megatron doesn't conquer their world. Optimus Prime still got it in the inspirational speech-making department. Sarah Connor is convinced, and she persuades the Terminator to agree as well. Meanwhile, the Decepticons have regrouped on the western coast of Oregon to take stock of this new world. Starscream reports to Megatron that the world's dominant life form are soft, weak organic flesh creatures that use machines that look like their alternate forms. He demonstrates by destroying some surfers and their dune buggy on the nearby beach. And Bombshell and Reflector have found a robotics lab they can convert into a facility they can use to generate energy. And
Bombshell
they think this
and who?
Reflector.
Who?
Yes, Reflector.
Oh, okay.
Reflector.
There's a little spelling difference.
Reflector. That's how I read it in the comic. Reflector.
Okay. All right.
And they think this lab might be the source of the cyborg pest that was pretending to be a human. With this new information, Megatron enacts a new plan. They'll start by taking this facility to eliminate the robotic threat and build a power base to start their new empire. And so the Decepticons begin their savage, brutal assault on Cyberdyne systems. To be continued. So this was a treat for me. The way that they blended the Terminator and Transformers mythos was brilliant. I thought just making Skywatch, which was the secret organization that fought the Transformers in the IDW comics, and making them the originators of Skynet, I thought was, completely just a move that fit, everything clicked right into place. I just thought it was really great. Alex Milne's art is super impressive here. All his redesigns, his G1 redesigns of all the Autobots and Decepticons in this issue are just excellent, amazing, just so pretty. Megatron in particular, he looks great. Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, Ravage, Soundwave, Starscream. It's just so good. And then the Insecticons and Reflector. All the details, I believe in the original G1 cartoon, Skywarp was the one who was first reactivated, and you have a little throwaway line that Skywarp, when he came online, he chose to reactivate Megatron first. So, it's hearkening. It's really, and it also, if you ever watch the G1 cartoon, when the Decepticons are reawakened first, you think they should have just melted down all the Autobots instead of, just leaving and leaving them there to potentially reawaken. And here, in this story, we get a reason for that, where Megatron was about to do just that, but he was interrupted by the Terminator. So I really thought this issue was well done. The story was tight. The battle scenes were great. And it was just a nice, it felt like a nice story, but still part of a 4-issue series. It's part of this, this story, but it has its own self-contained story. And then it wets your whistle for the next issue, where the Decepticons are attacking Cyberdyne systems. I also liked Sarah Connor's reaction to seeing Optimus Prime transform for the first time, where it makes her want to vomit rather than, because it's like, I think she's probably imagining, what would happen if a human bended his body like that. So I just thought that was really funny. So yeah, I thought this was a really great issue. So kudos to the art and writing team here. Mike, what did you think of this issue?
The art I really, really liked, especially on page 1, that kind of big splash of Megatron on there. Oh, that was just beautiful. I could have done without the cross hatching on it. Not to sound like Yoshi, but like the textures on this one really kind of on that image in particular was like, I really didn't need that there. I wish they were blended a little bit better, but as for the actual artwork itself on it, yeah, absolutely. That is just a beautiful looking shot. Art-wise over the whole issue, yep. Spot on pretty much everything. Story-wise, not too bad. As you said, Charles, it did blend the two mythoses pretty effectively, I think. There's nothing really kind of glaring that I saw and thought, oh, hey, this doesn't make any sense. But no, overall, it was a pretty solid issue, I think. The one problem I had with the issue is Megatron's decision to leave Prime and Bumblebee there and not kill them.
Yeah.
They outnumbered them by at least 5-1, at least. But his big plan was to leave them so that the Terminator could deal with them. Megatron, you have an opportunity to end the war right there, and instead you just decided, no, I'll let this little guy who my elite soldiers can't kill, I'll let him go ahead and kill Prime and Bumblebee. Just take a shot, seriously, you jerk. But no, that's the one thing that kind of bugged me was just the plot on it. It was like, why? Just do it. Seriously, just do it. All the little throwaway pieces, not the throwaway pieces, all the little Easter eggs that you saw that kind of like related back to Terminator and to Transformers, that was all really, really good. Cyberdyne systems, yep, absolutely, that was neat. Skynet from Skywatch, that was cool, yep, love that. Yeah, overall, really strong issue. One glaring little plot hole in there, but otherwise, solid.
Oh, yeah, and then the other, I forgot to mention, the other thing was we have the one when the Terminator is giving his flashback about the alternate history. We see Megatron using the Lincoln Memorial as his throne like he did in the G1 cartoon. So that was a nice little callback. Nice. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, I think they could have, maybe if they had actually had Sarah reviving like maybe 3 more Autobots, like if she was like whipping that scanner around and catching all the Autobots, and then they see, oh, we're quickly going to be outnumbered, that would have been a little bit more plausible than just being Bumblebee and Prime. It's yeah.
There's 2 Autobots there. Oh no, we're outnumbered. We're going to lose.
We can take 1 Autobot, but 2. Especially the smallest, weakest one.
Prime is here. We can get him. Oh, Bumblebee's here. Gotta run.
All right. Daryl, was there enough action in this book for you?
It was pretty good. Pretty good. I want to start off by commenting on the art. I really enjoyed it. I'm a little biased because I'm a really big fan of Alex's art. I will counter argue against Mike and the cross-hatching. It's something with that Alex has been trying the cross-hatching, and I think it's working because it's doing a lot of like gradient shading, and there's not any actual like textures on here. The textures are the cross-hatching, which is a lot of work, so he's not actually taking the lazy way out and just doing like this filter on a computer. He's actually just sitting here drawing lines, and that's, anytime somebody's gonna put in more work, I'm all for that. And if you look at, again at your first splash page, it's there's so much work in that first page. It looks beautiful. I can really appreciate it, because if you ever you look around anywhere in real life, your shadows are not just straight dead lines, unless they're actually shadows of things. They're worked on through the it's like a gradient on a thing. So I really like the way that his cross hatching on Megatron is here. It's just it's so much work, right? It's not just a filter that he applies to the image and just says, here, make it look darker because he's shadowed here. So I think it looks really awesome. Going through the rest of the book, I won't keep commenting on the art because the art's just has one of the spots in the story kind of took me out, and it has nothing to do with the actual like the actual wording of the story, but it was actually like a punctuation that caught me, and because my entire life I've always been told you don't start a sentence with the word and in that page where Charles had mentioned that you see Optimus transform and Sarah Connor get all grossed out, that panel just above there, the first speech bubble there, he actually in the middle starts a sentence with the word and I'm like, really? That's stupid. So anyway, so I'm reading it and I'm thinking, is that a period or a comma? And I'm thinking, that's a period. Optimus Prime made a grammar error. So,
I mean, this is dialogue, though. I mean, people do start sentences with "and" when they're speaking. He's not writing a term paper. He's speaking naturally.
He is a sentient robot, and his programming should not allow it.
And he's continuing Starscream's sentence. Stop it! I've had enough of you. And I've had enough of you, Starscream.
No, that's not the one I'm talking about. It's the one where he transforms and he says, "Thank you for your help in getting through to him,
oh, right.
and for awaking me and Bumblebee." It actually should just be a comma there, but it's a period.
Okay.
Anyway,
that's an editorial.
The following page where Starscream shoots at the surfers, like, is that not Beachcomber? Like, come on. Please tell me that's not Beachcomber, or supposed to be Beachcomber, or will eventually be Beachcomber.
Well, now it's a smoking pile of scrap metal and
it is.
And charred dead bodies.
I also like the juxtaposition of the two different like speeches. You get Optimus Prime using like half the page to speak, and you get like 3/4 of his body in the image, giving his speech about we got to go and we got to do this, blah blah blah, and it's drawn really well. And then a couple pages down, you get Megatron also giving a very rousing speech using 3/4 of the page, and you get all of his minions behind him, and he's got like 1 foot up on a rock, and it's a very interesting little juxtaposition there. And then you got the 2 panels above him where you actually get like the silhouette of half of him on each panel. It's drawn really well. Again, see, look, I'm back at the art. I'm a visual guy. The art's just really well done, really well in this. So I'm really happy with the art. The story's great. A lot of action in this. And I've been waiting for a book like this. This is just actiony action and fists to faces. And I'm excited about what's to come.
Nice.
If I can counterpoint your counterpoint.
Oh my, are we doing this? All right.
Because a lot of the other robots don't have a cross-hatching pattern on it, it feels a little out of place.
But they're in the background.
So if you... in the background, you know what? I don't have that much of a problem with it. But in foreground like this, kind of big right up in your face, like not many of the other panels have that. Like if you take a look at page 2, page 3, page 4, like there's a little bit of cross-hatching on like the sides of Megatron's head, but there's just so much of it on page 1 that I just want to take a blending stick and kind of just blend it a little bit to have a nice little gradient to it.
I think you're nuts. It looks awesome.
Nah. Oh, I did look it up while you were trying to justify your cross-hatching. You actually can start a sentence with the word "and."
I'm sure you can. You're disowned from society, though.
It is not grammatically incorrect.
Language is fluid, Daryl.
Well, is that the American Grammar Society?
Merriam-Webster.
Oh.
So you can. Well, if you disagree with the dictionary, then
it's not Oxford. If it's not Oxford, then it's not official.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No.
Y'all can suck an egg.
Also, you're not supposed to start the sentence with the word "y'all."
That was my point.
As someone that grew up in the South, I have to disagree with that. Y'all is a perfectly good contraction of you all.
Anyway, this book is awesome. If you're not reading Transformers versus Terminator, you are seriously missing out on one hell of a book right now.
Yep. All right, Jeremy, we need your review.
It was good.
Care to elaborate?
Everyone's already said so much. The art was great. I really loved it. I liked a lot of the details, especially like I was like digging through a lot of the dead and damaged Autobots, especially like when you see, like certain characters are only missing a couple of limbs. You're like, okay, they're probably going to come back. And then you see, is that Huffer? He's missing his bottom half and an arm. And I think he's gray. So that's also a sign. He's dead. So lots of detail there. Couldn't make out some of the bots like they're sitting in chairs and stuff, but I love all these details. The image of Optimus and Megatron facing off, where you have Optimus with his energy axe and stuff. That's just an epic panel. Just so much good in the art. And I also love in the story coming after issue 1, we were like, how are they going to redo the story? Because it's like he was against all Cybertronians, and now they're showing that Megatron did, after the Decepticons were reactivated, he killed all the Autobots in the Ark, and then he proceeded to take over the world. So now the timeline has changed, and I really like the way that they did that. And now what's going to happen with the Decepticons going after Cybertron, and what effect is that going to have? It's like they took our expectations and then they twisted it, and now they're twisting it again, and it's a lot of fun.
But where do you stand on the cross-hatching issue?
I think it's fine. I think you're crazy.
Damn it.
I mean, if anything, that first panel might have been a little bit too dark. I would have preferred to see a little bit more cross-hatching. I think it's fine. If you can't have the dots to indicate shade and stuff.
I think, to be fair, Mike is the only professional graphic designer here, so maybe his opinion carries a little bit more weight.
No. Did you guys notice the blood?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, in the planes?
Yep.
That was nice. Yeah, that was nice. Little touch there.
And Sarah's got some flesh wounds, too. She's got some cuts on her arms and legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like her characterization. She's obviously panicked, but then she's putting things together really quickly. And I'm wondering if her reaction to Optimus transforming was also because they were just in a semi-truck and wasn't exactly the most fun ride.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she'll get over it. I just think all around this was a fun book. I cannot wait for issue 3.
There's the scene that you were talking about with the everyone like the Decepticons repairing all their comrades and whatever, and you see Shrapnel getting repaired. He's missing an arm, but they've got it there. Part of his leg is missing, and it's nowhere to be found. He's colored like the Diaclone toy, I believe. I just wondered if that was done on purpose. I guess we might have to send that to Alex or David Garcia Cruz to see if that was just done as a quick homage. But I don't see any of the other Insecticons colored that way.
I think that's just lighting. He's bathed in the blue light, and that's changing the color.
Right. Yeah, because if you look at the one the Thundercracker's holding, just black and yellow.
So you see the little scanner. The little scanner is shining its blue light on him as he's being repaired.
I see. Why you gotta take this from me, Charles?
I mean,
I thought I had something here.
First it was a cross-hatching, now this.
If there's anything Alex is known for, it's attention to detail. So I assume he and colorist David Garcia Cruz would have talked about that.
I'm gonna have to send him an email or something. Tweet at him once this book comes out. Explain this, panel. Who is this?
All right, and we did get Yoshi to send in his thoughts on this issue, so let's hear that now.
I'm going to start with the cover. My favorite cover is cover B, drawn by Casey Collar. It beautifully looks like an 80s Terminator. The arc looks like it's from the cartoon. The heads of the Autobots and Decepticons down below all look like they're from the cartoon. This is what I picture when I think Transformers versus Terminator. Let's go to the 80s, guys. Let's have fun. But IDW honestly should be ashamed of themselves, because all 3 covers, in my opinion, invoke this nostalgic pull. But as soon as you open it up, kiss that shit goodbye. Seriously, it's misleading and it's not fair, especially for people who go to buy a comic book, literally who run into their comic book store for only just a second and grab a book based off the cover. This would be pure disappointment to anybody who does that with this book. And I'm going to get more into that later. I'm got a rant coming. You guys can tell. So the story, I'm going with, I just read both issues. I'm going to focus on issue 2 because that's what we're doing today. But for me, the story is kind of the 80-20 rule. I'm so happy with 80% of the story. There's so many fantastic, good ideas here. And then there's that 20% that just pulls me out of the story. And I know John Barber co-wrote this issue. And, it's a good story. I mean, especially that John was able to leave politics out of it. This is an awesome story, I'll say. I did enjoy a lot of it. I enjoyed most of it. There were things about it that pulled me out. Sarah Connor not being more shocked of the situation shocks me. Like when I compare her to the movie Sarah Connor. She buys the Terminators from the future. She buys giant transforming robots. She hasn't freaked out completely. In fact, she aids them. that kind of pulled me out of the story. The fact that the thing that was her last, nail in the coffin where she just drops it was when Optimus Prime transforms into a semi-truck and offers her a ride home. Like that was too much for her. But the time travel, giant robots, this fighting that was going on between good and bad and the future, she seemed pretty grounded with that. But Optimus Prime transforming into a truck and wanting to take her home, no, that's where she draws the line. It's really, really hard for me to buy. I don't buy it. It's very much a weak point in the story. So time travel is a tricky thing. It's a tricky motherfucker. I have been working really hard to figure out how to implement time travel in my D&D game, actually. It's no easy feat. So you've got a Skynet that was built for different purposes, and you've got a Terminator in 2023 who's trying to practice his English, which doesn't make any sense, who's coming to the past, who speaks, as I interpret this, more fluidly, understands slang slightly better than the movie Terminator. These are really hard for me. This Terminator seems really more willing to hear out the Autobots and Sarah rather than just be a killing machine, which is, how he's portrayed in the movie. So did this alternate reality, this future that created Skynet to stop the Transformers, and their interaction, the humans' interaction with Skynet, caused these changes in the I can buy some of this. I can buy some of it. It's like there's pieces there where I can be accepting of it, but it's difficult. Let me now transition to the art. Here's what I'll say. I'm assuming IDW Dark Horse have the rights to use Transformers and the Terminator franchise. Fantastic. This is great. I'm assuming they did not have the rights to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton's likenesses, because these two look so far removed from the movie. And I assume it's a rights thing, because Alex Milne is a fantastic artist. This is not him screwing up faces. I think this is a rights issue. And that's okay. I can live with that. What I have a problem with, and this is not Alex's fault, what I have a problem with is you've got a story taking place in the 80s, okay? You've got Transformers I love how Alex reimagined the Ark. For some reason, that was still close enough to the 80s for me that I loved it. I was happy with that. I'm like, I could do a rebooted origin story in the 80s, and the Ark I felt like was spot on. But these models of the Transformers, that's IDW insecure with themselves. Again, like I said, this comic book is not targeted to kids or teenagers. 25 years and older are going to be interested in this comic book. And as soon as any one of them flips them over and looks and sees that the Transformers don't look like the 80s Transformers, where this story literally takes place in, they're going to put it back on the shelf. I mean, you've got IDW and Dark Horse here have two of the most iconic 80s properties in their hands, and they've managed to fuck that up. It's just embarrassing. They so much hate what came before IDW. I'm assuming that they just refuse to fucking cave and fucking do the book people want. Instead, they release something like this with a misleading cover. Same with Star Trek versus Transformers, and the others in the past. This means a lot to me, guys. This means a lot to me, and this is really hard to swallow. Like, how can you hate and screw this up so much, but the covers just invoke it so well? It's bullshit, misleading bullshit. Shame on you, IDW. Fucking shame on you. I will finish off with the art in saying that I am absolutely in love with the hashwork Alex has done through this. I love hashwork on comics. It's a throwback to old school to me that I don't see very often. And he just has embraced it with these first 2 issues. I feel like his art is a lot better on issue 2 than it was issue 1. That's my personal opinion, and I could point out things, but we're on issue 2, and I fucking love his hashing and his shading with his pen. This just looks phenomenal. He really did a good job here. And I applaud him. There's so much effort went into reimagining the arc and these scenes. And, oh God, one of my favorite panels was on, let me find it here. It was on page, let's see, it's page 15. It's panel 4 with Optimus Prime and Bumblebee holding onto each other, and then you can see the rest of the dead Autobots or disassembled Autobots scattered about the arc. And I find it very, very interesting that RC is here. I got no problems with it. It's just interesting. I'm curious as to who the bot is above her. I cannot make that one out. That's, I think, the only one I'm having trouble with figuring out. But that's a beautiful page. I really like that. Really, really good work. And the shading, this was not an easy job, and he embraced it full force, and it's great. What else? So I think I'll end my review, my thoughts on issue 2 here with just saying again, 80-20. Like 80% of this book I'm enjoying. I am looking forward to issue 3. I like this reimagining of what happened in the 80s. I kind of like the harshness too of the Autobots and the Decepticons in the 80s. There's a lot of good ideas here, and as long as the 20% that's bugging me just can bug me a little less, I'm going to enjoy this series. So I guess I give it, 7 Energon cubes out of 10. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.
Wow, I don't know if I could disagree with Yoshi any harder.
So you really do hate the hatching?
Either way, I'm fine. I don't care about that. But everything else he said, I don't understand where he's coming from. I don't know what he wants in terms of G1 nostalgia. I don't see how he could look at these designs and say they are not evocative of G1. Yes, they are not slavish to G1. They are not replicating G1, but they are clearly an homage to G1. And I don't think IDW mandated these at all. I think these are all Alex's original designs. He wanted to take a new perspective on the G1 characters, and these are his designs. I know Alex usually listens to our reviews, so Alex, if you could let us know, I mean, did IDW tell you to make a certain design, or are these your designs, that you did for this book? Because there's no reason to put designs from the previous continuity that is no longer being sold into this, 4-issue crossover series. It's a completely separate from anything else. So that doesn't track. I'm really kind of surprised. Like, I think this is a complete love letter to both Transformers G1 and Terminator 1984. And I'm really surprised that he doesn't see that.
Mm-hmm. For someone who says it's 80-20 and he likes it 80%, he bitched and complained about it like 90% of that. So I don't know. I mean, I disagree with it almost entirely. We agree on the hashing. I mean, I'm right there with him on the hashing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else can be done. I mean, get Frank Springer to come back to life and draw some Transformers books again. Jose Delbo, maybe a couple more, and do some stuff from them. Get some of the original Marvel guys on it, which, in my opinion, they weren't great. Those first guys, they were good because they were doing it, but it didn't get until the end with you said him earlier. What's his nuts?
Jeff Senior, Andrew Wildman.
Yeah, both them guys.
Yeah.
They started doing it really, really well. But that's the best that the Marvel comics ever looked, was when those guys got on it. The first few guys, they weren't doing great work. They were doing okay. They were getting them by, but it wasn't until the end when those really good Transformers artists got on it. So I don't know, man. I don't know what he wants.
All right, Yoshi, if you're doing MST3K on this one, please respond. This is one where I wish Yoshi was actually here and we could hash this out, but then probably the episode would run a lot longer. So maybe we should end it here. All right, that is our review of Transformers versus the Terminator #2. Don't listen to Yoshi. Buy this book. It's really good. All right, we will move on to Transformers media news.
All right, so I am taking over media news from Daryl this week. Why? Because I can. I'm taking over everything. So starting off, we have some Transformers-themed mazes. And yes, mazes as in the, follow the route activity thing. Takara Tomy has partnered up with a maze artist named, and I apologize, I'm probably going to mess up your name, Miro Yoshikawa. And they have put out 5 images that you can download and print off and either do for yourself or give to a younger family member who might be interested in it. And yeah, the artwork looks not too bad. It's very, very flat, very kind of coloring book-esque kind of like tone to it. But they got the Autobot symbol, the Decepticon symbol, they got Bumblebee, Prime, and Megatron, and pretty much they cut out little pieces in the outline of the artwork to indicate kind of where you're supposed to go and how you're supposed to go through the maze. And a couple of these kind of look a little on the tricky side, especially like the Bumblebee and the Megatron, partly because the walls of the maze really feel like it's it's part of the artwork, and it can actually be very difficult to kind of follow through. So I imagine that those two would be a little on the tougher side. The Autobot and Decepticon symbols are more of a traditional feeling maze, and you can kind of go through those fairly easily, I think. Kind of cool. So if you have some kids at home, or if you just want to do these yourselves, go ahead and click on the link in the show notes, download, print them off, and have at it. Second thing for media news is that the Netflix series has been delayed. According to one of the voice actors, Lindsay Rousseau, according to her, because Netflix requires all of the foreign dubs of a show to be all set and ready to go on launch day, it's delayed because they couldn't get all the dubs done because of the pandemic. Couldn't get the voice actors in the studio to get it to finalized, and we are now dealing with delays. So unfortunately, there's no date as to when it's been delayed to. I think as soon as the voice actors can get into the studio and record their lines, get everything dubbed, and get the shows finished, it'll likely go up pretty soon after that, but it does look like it will be delayed at least until that is done.
It seems like a legitimate reason.
Yeah, very true.
I am kind of frustrated at the lack of communication, as well. It seems like you come out with a big push in February, and then as you say June, and then nothing. At least put out something like, say we're working on our foreign dubs and they aren't able to get into the studio because of an obvious reason that's affecting everyone, and people would be understanding. I'm hoping that as soon as this episode, is finished recording, they're going to make an announcement and then, make this whole segment meaningless.
We got some breaking news here. Sorry, Mike, I got to interrupt you. Just got to let the professionals step in here for a minute. We got this was just handed to me across my desk here. The Netflix show has been given a date, and we got a new trailer with it. So we're gonna go live to our correspondent on the scene Jeremy, who's sitting at his desk looking at the trailer. Jeremy, tell us about the trailer you're looking at, and what are the reactions of people on the street?
The street is pretty far away from me right now. The reactions from the street of social media seems to be fairly positive, except for the people that are complaining that it's not going to be June like normal, like they had suggested before.
Mm-hmm.
I think with what we talked about with the voice actors saying that it's the foreign dubbing wasn't finished. I think July 30th is reasonable. A month delay. I mean, I guess we didn't know what time in June, but a month delay is reasonable in my opinion. And the new trailer looks great. I mean, I think we get a better sense of Megatron in the voice work from here. And I think it was really good in terms of Megatron's voice acting. We see zombie Decepticons, lots of action. The animation looks a little bit more fluid, I think, from the original trailer. This gives me a lot more optimism about the series.
Fantastic. We're going to go over to the Weather Center now, and Charles, you can see from the trailer that the weather systems on Cybertron are just a mess. What do you make of those? Can you hear me? What's the weather like on Cybertron, Charles?
Oh, there's energon storms everywhere, Daryl. I can't see anything. I don't know. It's just a mess out here. I think the war has really done a number on the Cybertron's environment. It's they might have to evacuate the planet, Daryl.
Oh my God, this is horrendous. Oh, the humanity.
Yeah,
Charles, what do you make of the trailer? And like Jeremy mentioned, the date for the release of this Netflix show has been moved back to July 30th. What are your feelings on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's never fun to have to wait extra time, but I think we all get it. Netflix wants to have all the languages out at the same time, so so that everyone can enjoy it at the same time. And so that's where we are. But I'm happy to wait, and I'm looking forward to it. It looks really interesting, and I'm of course I'm reserving judgment, but I'm getting a little hype for it. I think it might be, it's been something we've been asking for a while, is get, a show focused on the Transformers, do a series in the similar vein like what the Voltron reboot did for Voltron. And also to a lesser extent, I mean, I watched the whole She-Ra series that ended recently. I thought that was a really good reboot as well. I think Netflix is the right place for like reimagining older properties, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I don't think I can agree more. It really does look exciting. The new trailer is it's still short. It's still a bit of a teaser, but it's a lot of new footage that wasn't in the first trailer. So it does give you a new perspective on what what we're looking at here. It seems to be a lot more focused on the Decepticons, whereas the first one was almost entirely focused on Autobots. We got a nice new look at of what Megatron's going to some of his motivations are, and I think that this first few episodes here are really going to be exciting, and I really am looking forward to July 30th. Yep. It is nice to finally get a date on this as well, and I totally agree that a month is not a real big issue. If there are people out there that are really upset that they have to wait a month for this to kind of finish up, you better buckle up, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's been put off by this pandemic that you're going to be waiting a lot longer than a month.
So many fall shows are now starting in January.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Black Widow movie that came out last month. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Yep.
Although the one thing I will say, and I'm, this is not a deal breaker for me, but I don't really understand why Megatron is getting Overlord lips.
Yeah.
That's fine. As long as Optimus Prime has his faceplate on, I'll deal with it.
I will say the Optimus Prime voice at the beginning, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So far with the voice acting that we've heard, I mean, I think people were skeptical with the first trailer. I think it's going to be fine. I don't know. This trailer, even though it's short, it's like, 30 seconds long. It just, I feel like the quality was just improved a lot over that first one.
Right on.
Yeah, I hope that bodes well for the series.
We don't have much longer to wait. A month and a few days. So you can be sure that we're going to really go hard on this and enjoy it and review it. So, yeah. And it's only 6 episodes, so it won't take us that long to get through. But I'm going to throw it back to the main studio right now. And Mike, take us back in through the rest of the media news.
All right, so one last thing in media news, as is typical for us. Episode 13 of Cyberverse has dropped on the Hasbro YouTube channel for American audiences. So if you have not seen the rest of the series, and I don't know how you would because America is everywhere, of course. Go ahead and watch that. This is what happens when you give the media section to me, Daryl. So yes, if you like, go ahead and go up to Hasbro's YouTube channel and take a look at episode 13 of Cyberverse. And that is it for media news. Back to you, Charles.
All right, we will finish up the show with convention news.
All right. We have another guest announced for TF Nation's big broadcast of 2020. They have announced that Gregg Berger, the voice of Skyfire, will be returning to TF Nation. He's also done some other voices. He's been Long Haul, a few other smaller things. He was Eeyore.
Skyfire.
I said Skyfire.
Outback.
Oh, Outback, yeah. He was voice Bodie. Jetfire.
Long Haul.
Oh, yeah, and he was also Grimlock. You might have heard of that one.
Oh, don't forget, I think he was the voice of Skyfire, too.
Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah, so he will be attending their digital convention. So that's cool. He's always a fun person to listen to. He's got tons of great stories. So, he's a great addition.
He did a podcast with us in our hotel room at TFCon.
He did. Very gracious. And we were also on a panel with him, and he kept trying to steer the conversation towards those, the podcasters on the panel, trying to include us with all these,
legends,
voice actors. So, yeah, legends. And I think he's very gracious, and I think this is an awesome kit. So.
Yep. All right. So if you didn't already need a reason to tune in to the big broadcast of 2020 at TF Nation, here's yet another one. All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. And again, want to remind you about Empire of Rust, the live action Transformers RPG podcast run by our very own producer and editor, Mike Ordway. And you can all check that out at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. If you want even more Empire of Rust, you can get those uncut bonus episodes, expanded episodes exclusive to our Donatrons, but you got to sign up and kick us a little money to get those. Those are exclusive.
It is totally worth it.
And so Mike, anything else you would like to plug before we sign off?
If you'd like, you can always leave me a message on Twitter. It is Minervion, Minervion. And just, take a listen to Empire of Rust and leave comments. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, our Discord. Our Discord is great because all of the cast members are on the Discord, and if you start talking to them and start asking them questions, they will get back to you pretty damn quick, with the exception of Rob. Rob never answers quickly. But as long as you tag him, you'll be good. But yeah, so definitely stop by, drop them a line, interact. They always love hearing from fans. So go for it.
Awesome. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Later.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Transmissions. But just because this episode is over doesn't mean the Transformers fun has to stop. Join us and other Transformers fans on our Discord chat server by visiting transmissionspodcast.com/discord. If you would like to learn more about how you could support the Transmissions Podcast, just visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, I think I got it.
I did.
I did not mess it up.
Oh, there was some rustling over there.
I am recording.
We've got 3 covers. The first one, cover A, was art by Gavin Fullerton.
This is embargoed, Charles.
Oh, jeez. Oh, well.
I was wondering how far you were going to go.
I forgot. I completely forgot. Oh, well. Thanks for stopping me.
Jeez, Charles.
Sorry, Donatreons. We can't spoil the book for you.
What is this, amateur hour over here?
Clearly, yes.
Oh, shit, I forgot. I wasn't ready.
Wait, that's my line.
All right. Now, on to our comic review.
Now that we're alone.
Okay, I'm just going to start with the covers since I already did the credits. Megatron and the Decepticons have just reawakened. Megatron and the Decepticons have just been Megatron and...
Try to.
Come on, Charles.
Take 7.